Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Saturday. This is Game Day Live, pre-recorded style, as we're streaming this pre-recording on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network, coming to you from the Primetime Radio Studios here in beautiful New Jersey and somewhere in Wisconsin. I can't believe it. This is Game Day Live as the Devils are going to take on the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Vinnie, welcome to the studios. And congratulations on getting a promotion here at the Let's Go Devils podcast as the associate broadcast engineer, figuring out your own technical issues where you're at right now.
Yeah, that's really funny. I am in no way, shape, or form associate tech anything. I stink at technology. But I listen. People think I don't listen when they speak to me. Sam, I listen to you when you speak to me. You think
you're like
you
a
think
sponge.
you might be spewing this like tech nerd geek stuff at me, and I'm just letting it go in one ear and out the other. That is incorrect. That is not true. I do listen. I don't always understand it, but I do my best. And here we are, able to pre-record a Devils pregame show for all the fans. It's a big game today against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you know I'm super excited about it. Tough loss last game. The St. Louis Blues have the Devils' number. They play wonky, weird games every year. It doesn't matter when the Devils were a bad team and the Blues were a good team for the last 10 years. The Blues always found a way to make the Devils' life hell no matter what. Before that, in the Parise, Kovalchuk, I remember having problems with the Blues regardless of where they were in the standings or where the Devils were in the standings. And now it's more of the same this year. The Blues took both games against the Devils this year, and the Blues are really bad. They've already declared themselves as sellers by getting rid of Vladimir Tarasenko. And who did they send him to? The New York Rangers. Just add more layers to the Blues, making the Devils' life miserable. And then they come out yesterday and they play them really well. And guys like Jordan Kyrou, playing really, really good hockey, that's going to happen sometimes. It's the first time in 4 tries that they lost without Jack Hughes. They're now 2-1 without Jack Hughes. 4 games. That's 5 out of a possible 8 points or whatever it is. I'm not good at math either. You take it. The Devils, they lost a game. They're going to lose games every now and again. It's not become a regular thing for this team this year. Now, against the Penguins, they have to avoid making it 2 in a row. Okay, because then you got a really good Winnipeg Jets team the following game. So it's up to them to keep the good vibes going. It probably will be Vitek Vanacek in goal for this one against the Pittsburgh Penguins, as Mackenzie Blackwood started last game. We don't, as of right now, know whether or not Jack Hughes is going to be in the lineup, but all signs kind of point to him actually being in the lineup because he was 50-50 for this last game against the Blues, and then they held him out, but he was on the road trip. He was practicing, and I honestly would be a little surprised if he's not playing here against the Penguins.
Yeah, and also just remember about St. Louis. If you remember a few years ago, when they went on their Stanley Cup run, they fired their coach, and Craig Berube was their head coach, and they were the last team in the league, in last place in the entire league, if you remember that. And even though they traded Tarasenko, the ESPN commentators pointed out that St. Louis is not giving up on the season. So I think where the Devils really got caught up was St. Louis. I mean, they swept the Devils this series, between these two, went 2-0. But I think St. Louis is a little bit tougher than people give them credit for, because right now they're on a 3-game winning streak. And they looked like a pretty good team yesterday. So I would not discount that as some fans were just kind of we shouldn't have lost. But at the same time, I think they're going to actually try to make a push. And I would watch that in the Western Conference with St. Louis. But right now, turning to today's game, against the Pittsburgh Penguins, a Metropolitan Division game. This is a game that you have to be you have to win these games. If I were to pick which game is more important, and this is being obvious here, it's the Penguins. You got to beat the Penguins today, because the next game against Winnipeg, if you lose, you lose. It's not like these multi-point games that you're giving up.
Yeah, and the Penguins are fighting tooth and nail for a postseason spot, right? It's going to come down to the final couple weeks of the season for them. They have all-time great players. We've talked about, Sidney, Crosby, Evgeny Malkin on this podcast a whole bunch over the years now, and they've been two of the 20 best players who ever lived, and they're still awesome. And when they come to the Prudential Center and playing against the New Jersey Devils, you have to be ready for their best. And it's on the Devils to play a solid game here in this one. It's a lot of matching up against the centers, which I think it's an important game for Jack Hughes to return, because when they have the two-headed monster rolling out 1-2 lines like that, but you have Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes to combat that now. And you can play a Mikey McLeod against them and stuff like that. It's not the same Pittsburgh Penguins team when Phil Kessel, Carl Hagelin, and Nick Bonino were the HBK line. That Stanley Cup juggernaut doesn't exist anymore. But they're still the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? And everything you were saying about the St. Louis Blues is kind of what we're going to see from the Pittsburgh Penguins as they start to fade away. I do think they're slowly starting to fade away. They're still a good team, and Crosby and Malkin are probably going to be pretty good until they retire, as in my estimation. Like Yager, when he retired, he was still a good player. Gretzky was a pretty good player when he retired. Still, the greats do that. So they'll keep that team above water at bare minimum. But, when you're playing a game, when you're a Devils team, you're desperate for points because you need to get into the playoffs. You haven't been there in a while. And you're playing against the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are also desperate for points because of where they are in the standings right now. It definitely makes for a really solid Metropolitan Division matchup. And, again, the Penguins are one of those teams that these young Devils players can learn a lot from. And the last time they played them was that game. It was a Saturday where there was a day game. And it might even been a Sunday. It might have been a Sunday, but it was a day game on the weekend, and Jack Hughes scored like a couple of minutes into the game, and then the Sidney Crosby tied it quickly, and then it was like a hard-fought game the rest of the way after looking like it was going to be a barn burner at the beginning, and then Dougie Hamilton in overtime. You need to find ways to squeak out wins against these veteran teams like that who know how to play in the middle of February great hockey, and the Devils got to be ready to combat that. So it's going to be a very interesting test today.
Yeah. It's kind of weird doing a pre-recording today, because I'm trying to think in the future, right? And, but I know we were supposed to stay away from it, Vinny, but the Timo Meier stuff is just getting louder and louder and louder and louder. And it almost seems like the press is egging the fans on. Especially when Ryan Mann, who's a big fan of the podcast, he had that T-shirt, "Give me fuel, give me fire," that T-shirt, and and I just seeing Mike Rupp retweet that. I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that the whole Timo Meier thing has gotten the attention of the entire National Hockey League. And it's really the Devils, in the forefront. What better way to promote the New Jersey Devils? Devils fans have been wanting to, for so many years, wanting that national attention. But right now, they are getting that national attention. It doesn't have to be a live ESPN game or a live, whatever national game. They're getting all the attention right now because every analyst says this is going to be a perfect fit.
Yeah, and if by the time this recording goes live and Timo Meier's already a Carolina Hurricane, or even if he's already traded to the Devils, people are going to understand that this one episode of all of them isn't live, and they're going to come at us on Twitter. Parise and Will, you freaking idiots!
No, you know what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. I might actually dispose of this and just go live as is. Because if that happens, Vinny, if that happens, you might as well throw the playbook out the window and just have like, I'll have to fit, because the reason why we're pre-recording today is strictly because of scheduling issues. It just didn't work out because it's a 5:30 p.m. Eastern start. Normally it's 7. It kind of screws things up. I know it's on Saturday, but just for all you listeners and viewers, Vinny and I actually have personal lives, and we have other things to do. So sometimes it
hard
gets
to believe.
in the way.
Hard to believe.
Yeah.
Hard to believe, I know, because we put a lot of heart and soul into this Devils team. There's no doubt about it, but every now and then there's family scheduling conflicts and whatnot that we got to take care of. So, but let me tell you what, Sam. I have thought about Timo Meier every single day for the last 3 months. I'm not exaggerating. I that's probably not too much of a surprise to a lot of people.
So you're a pro Timo Meier.
I am pro Timo Meier, like we talked about in the podcast before the game against the St. Louis Blues. I need a contract extension, which Wyshynski already kind of cleared my brain on that the Devils are only making that move if there is one. And you can't give up Hughes or Nemec in a trade right now because the Devils are where they are because of the draft. And, you think of all the best players on the team. Jack Hughes, Hischier, first overall picks. Bratt, gem, diamond in the rough, 6th-round pick. Dawson Mercer, big goal in this game against the Blues. 1st-round pick. Not Alexander Holtz. Sharon Govich, gem of a late-round pick. Okay, Mackenzie Blackwood. They drafted him. You paid for Dougie Hamilton, right? But you had, the means to do that. You wanted to sign Dougie Hamilton because of all these great draft selections you've made. The Devils are not a complete product yet. Anybody who thinks they are, I'm sorry, but they're probably not going to win the Stanley Cup this year. But, you develop Nemec and Hughes into what you think they can be. All of a sudden, wow, the Devils have these top 4 picks that were defensemen that they developed, and you can't give one of those guys up for a winger. You just can't. But if it's long as it's not one of those two and there's an extension in place, I am pro Timo Meier because I do believe if he's your 4th best forward or 3rd best forward, you can win the Stanley Cup. He scores a lot. He's a young age. He's young enough to be an RFA still. That's the thing people don't understand. Even if you don't give him a contract extension right away, he's still an RFA at the end of the day, and you're going to hold his rights, until you get him signed. Someone can offer sheet him, but you can match it. There are all sorts of positives to going for Timo Meier. It's not like you're trading for a 29-year-old player who has like 3 or 4 years left in their prime. There's a lot of good hockey left in Timo Meier, and I do believe the salary cap is going to go up. Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are bargain contracts, right? Hughes would make $15 million on the open market if he were to be an unrestricted free agent this summer, and you have him for $8 million for the next 7 years. In Hischier at 7. I know he hasn't scored a goal in a while. He's stuck on 99. Once he gets to 100, he'll be right back to the old goal-scoring Hischier. That always happens with NHL players. But, those guys are bargains. You get Timo Meier if the price is right on the trade for me.
Nick brought this to everyone's attention on the State of the Fan address. I want to actually ask you about it. The Bally Sports RSN could be a colossal collapse, potentially going into bankruptcy, not making their $140 million interest payment. A lot of leagues are tied into sports contracts, which, if you know, they bought the entire Fox Sports Network, RSNs, meaning regional sports networks, for those that don't know. And now it just, people are cutting the cord. Revenues are not where they should be or used to be. They're all tied in. These TV contracts are tied into Major League Baseball, the NHL, the NBA, and, I wouldn't say really the NFL, because the NFL is really tied into network television. So that poses a problem in terms of revenue. Do you think it's going to be a bigger problem? Because that's just one company. The entire industry is suffering right now because, again, times have changed. The model is now evolving. Do you think that the salary cap is going to be a casualty of that?
It very well could be. Neither of us live in a region with Bally Sports. I've only ever streamed Bally Sports when I watch a Wild game or, the Panthers, teams that I watch relatively frequently. But Chicago and New York/Jersey are through networks that aren't Bally. So I'm not as familiar with it, but I will say that I think 16 NHL teams are through Bally, which was formerly Fox Sports North, Fox Sports Southeast, Fox Sports
and the
Midwest,
reason why
I
it
think.
was sold, the timing of it is interesting because I think it was sold in 2019. This was in response to, one of these government, the SEC, if you're going to make this acquisition, you better sell these assets. And that's what Fox Sports was doing, was trying to shed, because I think there was a deal with Disney at some point, or Disney was buying certain companies. I don't know the business aspect of it, to be honest. But the point is they had to sell it. Bally Sports comes in, and now it's Diamond Sports Group or something like that. And it concerns me because now hockey relies heavily, more than other leagues, on gate receipts. But that TV contract and what the NHL had to rely on to get through the pandemic. I mean, this is why we have all these issues with ESPN, because the NHL had to kind of sell itself in order to stay afloat after what happened in the pandemic, because these gate receipts weren't coming in because of all the shutdowns, whatnot, or limited capacity. So they struck all these deals. I'm concerned that they mean that salary cap will kind of flatten. And I'm just bringing that point up because nobody really knows, other than the NHL saying that, we're going to monitor the situation closely. I mean, they better, because you can possibly have teams folding if they rely heavily on those RSN deals.
Yeah, I agree. The only reason I would assume it still goes up is because of the TNT and ESPN money.
That's true.
Coming in, and that's a significant upgrade over what was coming in from NBC for the national games. And we know Sportsnet pays the league a crap ton of money, TSN as well. In Canada, I know the Canadian dollar is a little bit different than the American dollar in terms of value, but I don't know. You're right, though. It is something to keep an eye on and something to be, concerned with.
And the viewership down 22%. But I think a lot of it has to do with, there are some bugs that need to be flushed out in order to get these games. I mean, even the ESPN app, I have trouble streaming it. And what do, Vinny? We stream here. So it's kind of, and I know a lot on the tech geek end of things, but it's just, again, I just want to point that out there, that will the salary cap be affected? I think it would be, for if 12 to 16 teams are with these RSNs, how does that impact the economics? And will the ESPN and TNT deals will be the savior? Is it enough?
We can literally only hope.
Yeah. Yeah, because listen to Major League Baseball, they're saying, well, this is why we have the Major League Baseball channel, for these reasons. We'll stream it temporarily till we figure it out, because I believe in the contracts in Major League Baseball that if they default on payments, that basically they can get out of their current deals. So there's an out there. But where do you go?
That makes
where do you go? That's the thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, you would hope that, I mean, a good resolution would be, first of all, end the blackouts, right? Like, why can't people in New Jersey, if they're paying for ESPN Plus, why can't they watch the Rangers and Islanders through it? Why can't they watch the Devils through it? Why, when I'm in Wisconsin, do I get the Red Wings, Blackhawks, and Wild blacked out? I mean, that is just unbelievable. And they're not on the TV, the cable. You have to pay extra. But I pay for ESPN Plus. It makes absolutely no sense in my brain. I understand there's like legal things to it, but like they got to get that figured out because
it's archaic. That's the problem. They're going.
Yeah.
Everything goes back to the days of open air TV, cable television, distribution rights, all that legal mumbo jumbo there, and it's obsolete. It's obsolete. It's archaic. All this stuff is archaic. It should be as simple as an ESPN app on your phone or a simple app on your phone where it may redirect you to the ESPN app or redirect you to the TNT or redirect you where you can find your game instead of trying to figure out every night, is it on MSG or is it on ESPN Plus? It's on Hulu? Is it on YouTube? Is it on this network that streams it illegally? I don't know. I really don't know. But, let's put it this way. If the NHL really wants to promote the game, especially to the younger generation, you have to realize we're kind of lazy. And the easiest barrier to entry to hitting that button to get that instant gratification of that game you want to watch, it should take 3 seconds or less. Nothing more. That's all I
agree. And when we were watching for the game yesterday, like it was hard to find the Devils at first because the Notre Dame women's basketball game went to
yeah, it was actually
overtime.
A pretty good game though.
Oh, I know. I was watching it. I was like, am I a diehard Notre Dame basketball fan now? Because obviously there's a big Notre Dame presence around where I live, and I'm like, I could get behind this. Let's go.
I was
Irish.
like, you dropped the ball. Are you an idiot? But she actually hit the game-winning shot.
Yeah, that was something. That was something. What a game.
Yeah, and Notre Dame basketball, and who did they play? I forgot who they played.
Forget who it was that they played. I feel bad.
Yeah. It was a good game.
Was it Marquette?
No, it wasn't Marquette. Oh, crap. Who did they play? I forgot who they played. I thought it was a Big Ten team that they played.
Maybe it was.
I don't remember. But, Louisville. Was it Louisville? I forgot. So
that might be who they were playing.
Yeah. So I guess it wasn't a Big Ten team. But, it's funny because there's all these bunch of Devils fans like us that were watching it. It's like, oh, okay. So it actually got me interested in women's basketball, which I haven't really watched since Shamikwa Holtzclaw and Tennessee Volunteers back years ago. That's the only thing I know about women's basketball.
Did you see Penn State's baseball jerseys?
No, I have not.
They just released some new baseball jerseys. Oh, Sam, I've been wanting to collect college baseball jerseys anyway because I think they're sick to wear to outdoor gatherings in the summer, like parties and stuff.
Yep.
I want one. They're the white and they got the old school script that says Penn State in the blue. Oh, I'm thinking about getting one. They're cool.
All right, I'll have to take a look. I actually have a good buddy. He listens to this podcast. Devil season ticket holder for many years, but recently moved out of state for a job. Played on the Penn State baseball team.
That's sick. That's really cool.
Yep. So, all right. Well, we're getting close. Let's do our Saturday night predictions, Vinny. What are you predicting tonight?
So when they played each other last, also at the Rock, Devils won. It was 2-1, right? Dougie Hamilton in overtime.
Yep.
Jack Hughes, Sidney Crosby, and Doug Hamilton. I'm going to take it 1 goal each further. Devils win 3-2 over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jack Hughes did skate with the second line today, or Friday in practice, so I'm assuming he will play for the Devils in this game on Saturday.
All right. 5-3 Devils. 5-3
Nice.
Devils. That's my prediction. I'll have to write it down somewhere. So you're saying 3-2, and I'm saying 5-3.
3-2, 5-3.
All right. Well, I want to thank all those listening, watching us right now. We'll be back live. Devils After Dark after the game. Scotty of SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was, dropping the podcast in about, I don't know. Actually, I could probably drop it. I could probably drop the podcast
Whenever you want, as long as
whenever
it's
I
on
want.
Saturday.
It's weird doing the pre-recording. Oh, my goodness. It's convenient, but it's weird doing it. But I can't look at the chats. I can't look at Cornhole in the YouTube Live screaming about Timo Meyer or Steve Engel being a Rangers fan now. Don't ask. But
I won't.
Yeah, it's just a lot of inside jokes. And remember, February 25th, American Whiskey. A week from today, 3 p.m. Eastern, the big 500,000 party. Lots of the Let's Go Devils podcast will be there. Nick Villano, Beer Baron, Shorts Guy, myself will be on location. Who could stop by? I don't know. You're going to have to stop by and find out. Thanks, Vinnie. Till next time, let's go Devils.